Every myth, every fable must have some roots. Something lies among those roots. It does, Geralt of Rivia confirmed. Most often a dream, a wish, a desire, a yearning, faith that there are no limits to possibility, and occasionally chance. The Witcher Saga is a series of 6 novels and 15 short stories written by Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski. The books have been described as having a cult following. The series revolves around Geralt of Rivia, a mercenary who is part of a guild of hunters known as Witchers, who have developed supernatural abilities to battle beasts and slay monsters in return for coin. The Witcher began in 1986 as a short story that Sapkowski entered into a competition held by Fantastica magazine, marking his debut as an author. Due to reader demand, Sapkowski wrote 14 more stories before starting a series of novels in 1994. Known as the Witcher Saga, he wrote 1 book a year until the 5th and final instalment in 1999. A standalone prequel novel, Season of Storms, was published in 2013. The books have been translated into 37 languages and sold over 15 million copies worldwide as of December 2019. They have also been adapted into a film, The Hexer, 2 TV series, The Hexer and The Witcher, and a trilogy of video games and a graphic novel series. The video games have been equally successful, with more than 50 million copies being sold as of May 2020. So, why should you read The Witcher Saga? Firstly, because of the world in which it's set. There is no destiny. It does not exist. The only thing that everyone is destined for is death. The Witcher Saga is set on an unnamed continent in a world where magic, as well as mythical creatures and beasts, exist. The reason these creatures exist is because of a cataclysm known as the Conjunction of the Spheres, which occurred thousands of years before the events in the novels and affected the numerous parallel realities of the multiverse. This event trapped many unnatural creatures in the world of the gnomes and dwarves. Rifts were created by collision of the many different realms, filling this world with hundreds of creatures of all shapes and sizes, as well as a mystical force that came to be known as chaos, or magic. Unable to manipulate the forces of magic, and with little preparation to fight monsters that came through the conjunction of the different realms, the gnomes, dwarves and elves, as well as many other displaced races, were plunged into a strange, dangerous and uncertain age. It was during this age when humans first appeared, their own world having been destroyed. Sapkowski's world building is masterfully done. He uses familiar mythical creatures, as well as well-known legends and tales from our own world, and either builds upon them, making them his own, or subverts them in a unique way. This subversion is a technique that he weaves through his world, taking classical legends, folklore, monsters and tropes that might have been considered cliched, and twisting them into something fresh and enthralling. The world in which the adventures take place owes much to Tolkien, while also being heavily influenced by Polish history and Slavic mythology. The second reason to read the Witcher Saga is because of the characters. A coward dies 100 times. A brave man dies but once. But Dame Fortune favours the brave and holds the coward in contempt. The Witcher Saga is full of characters that manage to, at some point, pull out every emotion possible from a reader, from love to hate, revulsion to joy. The characters that fill Sapkowski's world pull you through the story. Geralt of Rivia is the protagonist and a witcher, a mutant assassin who has been trained since childhood to hunt down and destroy monsters. Geralt exists in a morally ambiguous universe, yet manages to maintain his own rational code of ethics, which often leads to confrontation. He is a simple yet complicated man and lives in the grey area between the world of humans and the world of monsters, belonging to neither. He has layers, loves, hates, passions and flaws, as well as a rich backstory that unravels throughout the books. Geralt is one of those rare characters that manages to keep the reader rooting for them despite his flaws and his stoicism. He has a tumultuous and complicated relationship with Yennefer of Vengerberg. Yennefer is a sorceress well over 100 years old, but has kept her youth. She is fiery by nature, fiercely independent, and does not capitulate for anyone. It's because of this that Yennefer and Geralt's relationship is a storm of passion that goes through stages of burning and exploding. She is anything but a cliché in any respect, and is a captivating and complex addition to the Witcher stories. On Yennefer, Sapkowski himself said, "When I created Yennefer's character, I wanted Geralt to fully grow, but then I decided to make things complicated. I created a female character who refuses to be a fantasy stereotype, to please the reader." And please us he did, by creating this complex character that has become a favourite of mine. Dandelion is also worth a mention here because for all intents and purposes, he is Geralt's best friend. He is a poet, minstrel and bard, and has made a name for himself by turning his adventures with the Witcher Geralt of Rivia into song. Some of his more famous ballads were about the relationship between Geralt and Yennefer. He is also a renowned flirt and leaves a string of jilted women wherever he goes. Dandelion could be dismissed as simply a humorous supporting character, but he serves to juxtapose Geralt's own personality and nature, and he has more layers than the reader might first give him credit for. The third reason to read the series is because of the writing. To be neutral does not mean to be indifferent or insensitive. You don't have to kill your feelings. It's enough to kill hatred within yourself. The writing and translation of the Witcher books are effortlessly readable, while forsaking none of the detail that builds upon the world Sapkowski created. Sapkowski has a command of language that brings to life every scene without being overwritten, slow, or neglecting character development in favour of action, a pet peeve of mine. While the writing is unassuming, the complex themes and ambiguous morals that make up the subject matter are not. Sapkowski is a recipient of numerous awards for his writing, including the World Fantasy Award in 2016 for literature. The fourth reason to read the Witcher saga is because of the monsters. People like to invent monsters and monstrosities. Then they seem less monstrous themselves. Not only are you reading a fantasy story that hosts a whole compendium of beasts and fiends to chill your blood, but in many instances you're reading a slice of subverted folklore too. Take the Kikimoris, for example. In the books, Kikimor is an insectoid monster species that lives underground as well as swamps. In original Slavic mythology, Kikimoras are human-like creatures with legs of a sparrow, and many different animal parts. They are peaceful but mischievous creatures which live in forests and households. When the house is in order, Kikimora looks after the chickens and does the housework. If not, she whistles, breaks dishes, and makes noises at night. The Jinn is another monster that might be familiar to readers, as it is the basis for the Middle Eastern myth of the genie. Much the same as in fairy tales, jinns are powerful creatures. Once captured, they are bound to the captor and have to fulfill 3 wishes. Following their completion, they are free once more. Then there is the Striga, which in the world of The Witcher is a human woman transformed into a monster by a curse. Though the name Striga has its place in Eastern European mythology, The Witcher's idea of the monster seems to be an amalgamation of several different types of folklore fiends. The fifth reason to read the Witcher saga is because of the politics. War is hovering over us like a vulture. For you it's an adventure, for me it's a game in which the stakes are survival. I'm involved in this game, and that's why your indifference and frivolity hurt and insult me. As well as adventure, magic and monsters playing a central role in the Witcher saga, politics pervades the writing, stories and characters too, in such a way as to keep any fan of political thriller and intrigue entertained. The main strands revolve around the turmoil between and in the countries of Novigrad, Temeria and Sintra on the continent. During the centuries preceding the stories, most of the continent's southern regions were taken over by the Nilfgaard Empire. The north belongs to the fragmented northern kingdoms. The Witcher saga takes place in the aftermath of the first major war between the Nilfgaard Empire and the northern kingdoms. And these are just the human aspects of the political spectrum. Things get even more complex and interesting when non-human facets come into play, such as with the elves and dwarves, following a series of wars that resulted in humans becoming the dominant species. The result is that non-human creatures are considered and treated as second-class citizens, adding a level of allegory that won't go unmissed by the attentive reader. Only evil and greater evil exist, and beyond them, in the shadows, lurks true evil. True evil is something you can barely imagine, even if you believe nothing can still surprise you. And sometimes true evil seizes you by the throat and demands that you choose between it and another, slightly lesser evil. If I'm to choose between one evil and another, then I prefer not to choose at all.